You're muted, Jen. Oh, okay, no, you're not.
I think I said YouTube.
Welcome to Recap with Mac for the week of August 9th. All right, Mr. Mac Haddo, what kind of update you got for us today?
Well, the hot topic obviously is what is the status of the DEA scheduling of both 7OH at threshold levels, and then the second, the scheduling recommendation for metrogene, sudendoxil, and MGM 15 and 16. And we had hoped that at the end of the 30-day period, you would see some clarity with the DEA finalizing its scheduling notice. They did not do so. We suspect that they have been barraged with a lot of information, including from us, asking them to look at the scientific evidence that would justify also including a threshold level for metrogene sudendoxil, which does naturally occur. It is at such low levels that it is not quantifiable with most testing, but we know that the anti-kratom people will be highlighting any kind of narrow little gap that they can find. And so in this case, we think it would be out of an abundance of caution to have the DEA consider it. And they are thinking about it. They're reviewing the information that was sent to them. And we're hopeful that they will at least acknowledge that that's there. But if not, we have a backup plan to go to the Congress and have them clarify exactly what that standard should be so that there isn't any confusion. The DEA's position is generally they do not enforce at those kinds of non-quantifiable levels. But that does not mean that some, attorney general in some state or a local law enforcement official won't decide that they're going to enforce it. So we don't want that kind of confusion to be evident in the marketplace. We want it to be clear. And we already know that the bad actors in the 7OH space, those bad actors that are defended consistently by the 7OH consumers as being, oh, these wonderful people, they're already manufacturing other products. There's one that came out today that I just got notice on for a 9OH product, thinking that they can skirt around what the rule is. And certainly the opportunity is there, but all they're doing is inviting more regulation. And the thing that's astounding to me is that we already know what the behaviors are of the Vince Sanders of the world and the 7-Ohms and all of those people. We know it because they are in the business of selling highly addictive, opioids. There's no question that when they chemically reformulate their products to become, dominant 7OH products, they've created an opioid chemically. So those people knew that when they went on the market, they didn't meet the standard for safety that's required. They knew it. In fact, Vince Sanders said, oh, we're letting our consumers be the human guinea pigs to decide whether it's safe. So how in the world anyone can justify that behavior? But now you have the 7OH consuming public that says, oh, we'll set that aside because we're now hooked on it. We're addicted on it. We're using it. So therefore, why are you trying to ban it? And now it becomes very complicated because at the AKA, we don't like the provision that is included in the Controlled Substances Act, which classifies and actually bans possession and criminalizes people. We don't like that provision. And in our new KCPA at the federal level, we will provide an exclusion for them. But that doesn't mean that a consumer should then justify that 7OH should be available because it's helping us and we're really benefiting from it. And this is the interesting thing that I hear from these 7OH people. Oh, we want to be regulated too. That's what they say. And they say, let's make sure that all kratom is sold in a smoke shop, right? Take it out of convenience stores. Take it offline. You can't buy it online. Let's just sell it and buy it in a smoke shop. That's where the consuming public of the 7OH group buys their products. They're not looking for anything but opioids. And 7OH is an opioid. So, this idea that they're now saying, oh, we would accept regulation. Where were they when we were out there saying, okay, there needs to be regulated products. You need to submit to the FDA under the federal statutes what your safety data was. Oh, they're not interested in that. And so it's bizarrely inconsistent, in my opinion.
They
And
want
I
their
hear,
own form of regulations.
of
Mhm.
course, and they want to make sure that when they do regulate it, they conform to only their market segment. Now, here's the regulation that is available to them and that I fully support. And I think every 708 consumer should get behind. Let's make it a new drug application
Mhm.
because it is a drug, because it has the signature effects of opioids, because it has therapeutic benefits, which they all claim is the reason they're using it. Let's make it a drug. And then we're all fine with it. And by the way, it can become a drug even if it's a Schedule 1. So once it goes through the new drug application process, it gets approved because they're all saying it works for them. Then it can be declassified as a Schedule 1 down to something lower. Now, I hear the argument. Oh, well, when you Schedule 1 something, it reduces the research that can be done.
It's not true.
There's a different kind of research that we're talking about. When you file a new drug application, you can conduct research. It's what every pharmaceutical product is. You can conduct research with human clinical trials. You have to pass an institutional review board, and you have to be able to show that the ingestion of the compound that you are seeking approval for will not put the subjects in the trial at an unreasonable risk for injury. That's all you have to do. So meet that standard, and let's see. Now, if they can't, if the IRB, an independent group of scientists, says, you know what, this is too potent. This is because they're wanting to put 100 milligrams in, or they're wanting to put 30 milligrams in, or they want to put 7.5 milligrams in. Well, maybe then we'll find the right level at which they can apply for a new drug application. These are drug seekers and they're profit seekers. That's the combination of those two groups, and it's unfortunate because the drug seekers got sucked into this
Yeah.
cycle of addiction by the mislabeling that goes on. And I think I have it right here.
I mean, they're probably thinking they don't want to wait 10 years. They don't want to
Yeah.
pay the billions of dollars it costs to make this a drug. They want to make their millions and billions now.
The companies absolutely will not go that way because they're out for profiteering. That's all it is. And they're not interested in the long haul because guess what they're doing? They're now going to the next chemically reformulated, manipulated product that doesn't give a damn about the safety of the consumers. It's all about getting you hooked so that you have to keep coming back and buying it and buying and buying it. And, to me, it's stunning. And then I hear, just as an aside, people who I know are sincere in their belief that Kratom should be available. And on the Kratom Gal show or the 708 Gal show, you hear one of their hosts say, well, I just take a little nibble. And yesterday on their show, she described what that nibble was, and it came down to 3 milligrams of 708. I'm sorry, that's not a nibble. A nibble would be, I don't know, 1 milligram or less. But see, 1 milligram or less of 708 doesn't work for the effect that they're choosing to achieve. And so, they want to demonize the American Kratom Association for advocating for protecting consumers with reasonable regulations. And in the case of those products that are chemically reformulated into dangerous drugs, that they should be subject to the Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act law for new drug applications. That's all we are saying, and we want that to play out. And here's the bottom line, and I've searched for what the right analogy is to kind of describe this, and they want to say, oh, well, Kratom is the same, 708 is the same as Kratom. It is not.
No.
And you still have, in my opinion, the charlatan scientist who wants to claim that she is all things Kratom in Michelle Ross, still saying, as of yesterday, 708 converts in your liver, okay? And it's at the same levels. Well, she deliberately is misleading people, or she doesn't understand it. Either way, it doesn't make any difference, because what happens in your gut when you ingest metrogenine, your liver does convert small amounts into 7-OH. And this is the important point, over a sustained time period. It's not like a 7-OH product that you take it, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. I'm on your mu opioid receptors, and you're now fully addicted. You're getting that euphoric high. That's not the way the 7-OH works in in working with the liver. And for her to continue to say it over and over and over again leads me to believe, at least it appears, that she's doing it deliberately because, and this is the great point, she points to the American Kratom Association and say, oh, well, you're just trying to protect the people that support the American Kratom Association. That's what she says. And to believe that argument, we have to believe that Michelle Ross has put herself on the perch of the ivory tower, untainted by anyone who might have a financial interest. But I'm sorry, Seven Hope Alliance is funded by one 7-OH company, and it's 7-Ohms. And they are the ones who are peddling all of these very dangerous products on the marketplace. And she wants to act like she's not influenced by that. She doesn't care. Anybody that wants to say that they're with the AK, then that's all tainted money. I mean, this is how absurd it gets. And those are all diversionary arguments, by the way. Bottom line, would you call moonshine corn?
Right. No.
Of course not.
I have a whole thing that I say whenever people want to call 7-OH kratom. I'm like, you don't call grapes wine. You don't call vapes nicotine or tobacco. I got a whole thing that I say.
Well, I'm glad you're doing that because we need to reduce it down so that people see it. Now, unfortunately, even when you put it down into those levels, the passion that the 7-OH community has, because they're now hooked on a chemically manipulated opioid and they want to continue to have access to it. I understand it. I get it. But it's just ridiculous. And to buy into the arguments that are being made by the likes of Michelle Ross, who already discredits herself with this nonsense about how the body actually produces 7-OH from metrogeny without explaining the process in its entirety. She makes it sound like, oh, it's the same thing. It's not the same thing. And she's now pointing out to me, and by the way, the anti-kratom people are doing the same thing. They're saying Mac Haddo actually is saying and has said in the past that metrogeny and 7-hydroxymetrogeny are not schedulable.
Oh,
Yes,
from
I
the
said that.
2025 North Dakota thing. The 7-OHers are doing the same thing.
So all of this argument is predicated on what we said, which was from the time that we started identifying the problem with 7-OH, we said that 7-OH in its naturally occurring form, as it occurs in trace amounts in the kratom plant material after it is dried and shipped to the United States, does not pose a safety threat. That is why the DEA has in their 7-OH rule that it is at a threshold level. They recognize that there is a trace amount of 7-OH. And when the analysis was made that constitutes the 8-factor analysis, what I was referring to was that in its trace amount in the naturally occurring plant material, it is not schedulable. Yeah, that's exactly right. And yet they want to make like, oh, Mac is, now he's flipped. It's a big inconsistency.
That's like that. It reminds me of something like narcissistic people do, where they find something that's they know clearly has nothing to do with what they're trying to prove you wrong with from the past. And they're like, oh yeah, remember that time you said such and such, and it's just like you're obviously not coming with any type of new facts, science, nothing that's real. So you're just going to resort to that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and of course, you hear people repeat these arguments from Michelle Ross. You hear people repeat the Seven Hope Alliance talking points, and I'm talking about Madeline Sklar and her group. They all repeat that. Now, that group, by the way, is a pro 7-OH group. They can yell and scream they're not. There's only a couple of their hosts that are actually on 7-OH. Well, I don't know. And then bottom line. And I've got more to say about this, but bottom line is that Madeline Sklar will sit there and say, we're always open to honest and open discussion. No, she's not. If you disagree with her, you're not welcome. if you're a lobbyist, you're not welcome. If you're an advocate, you're not welcome. And I'm meaning me. I even was commenting on her comment thread. Not, I'd ask her to be on the show. She wouldn't let me do that because she's not open to any honest discussion. She is, and then she says, "But I'm not a consumer of 7OH. I don't promote 7OH." Then what in the hell was she doing on the Seven Hope Alliance podcast when they were trying to get people to submit, in some cases, false comments to the Assistant Secretary of Health? Well, she was promoting 7OH, and she says, "Oh, I'm not doing that. I'm just here. I'm this honest broker." She's less than, by any stretch of the imagination, in my opinion, being an honest broker. It is dishonest to claim that you are honest when, in fact, that she's promoting a product that is highly dangerous. And of course, she will segregate, isolate, and put off to the side any of the recognition that the real culprits here are those 7OH manufacturers who went on the market without following the rules that she's now saying, "Oh, we should all follow. Let's regulate." They had the opportunity to be regulated. They could have submitted to the FDA the new dietary ingredient notification prior to market entry that would have allowed them to do so. And by the way, when they did, after market introduction, everybody can go on the FDA website and see what the FDA's objections were to Vince Sanders' very ridiculous, in my opinion.
Oh, what you're talking about? What Todd
submission.
brings up? What Todd's talking about?
Yeah, the new dietary ingredient notification, the FDA rejected it because it wasn't just bad science. It was incomplete. It was misdirected, and it had nothing to do. It wasn't credible science. But again, they were just trying to play the game. This is who Madeline Sklar is defending. And she won't let me come on and talk about it. She'll invite all of those people. She'll invite the witch of the Seven Hope Alliance, and they can have a discussion about it. I mean, let's light a candle and let's say a prayer. I don't even understand this kind of nonsense. And yet she wants to sit there and say, and here's the great thing. She says, "Oh, we're really glad that MAC has drawn attention because it's increased the number of people." Guess who's there? It's the 7OH people, because they're looking for any platform, anyone that they can get that will allow them to make the argument that this is what we should be allowing, right? I get the box they're in. I get the frustration. I get the pain that they're in. But the people that put them there are the 7OH manufacturers, no one else. And they willingly went out. Some of them were deceived. I get that. But they could have walked away from it. But they're hooked now. They're staying on it. And now they're fighting for it. And I find it absurd to see the kind of comments. Some of them beyond profane and beyond, personally attacked. This is craziness because it's not taking a rational look at what's really happening here. And they can demonize me and the AK all they want. It doesn't change what the reality is, that federal law, not a law that I completely agree with, obviously, in terms of personal, making a person a felony for possession of 7OH. I don't agree with that. We're going to try to change that with our legislation. So we're committed to protecting consumers. We don't care about a manufacturer that enters the marketplace deliberately with a very dangerous product that puts people at risk and uses marketing techniques that are designed to mislead consumers into buying a very dangerous product.
I will advocate to remove that possession ban. The whole thing with what you were just speaking about, I understand their view of how prohibition doesn't work, but there's certain things in this world that prohibition has worked for.
Yeah.
Right.
Like K2 and Spice.
Yeah.
And it's like, I understand that viewpoint, but I still don't understand how you don't see that 7OH is the reason why we have been to so many hearings, why so many states now have banned kratom.
The only way you're not seeing that is if you're sitting there covering your eyes and your ears, literally.
Or not attending, which we know they're not.
Well, yeah.
None of those folks. So, you might have one up there that attends a couple, but other than that, you're not seeing what we're seeing.
Well, I'll tell you who doesn't attend hearings is Robin Graham, who is the head of the Botanics, what is it called? Botanics Education and Advocacy. She on the show yesterday said, "Well, Max really got after me. Now I'm coming for him." Well, fine. Coming for how? You haven't been to a single hearing. how are you coming for me, Robin? I mean, this is silliness. But you know, they're all worked up and getting into a lather, and it really ought to be about responsible advocacy to protect consumers. That's what it should be about. And for Robin Graham to try to hide now and say, "Oh, well, we don't really advocate for 708." She did yesterday on the show because they're all of them are advocates for 708, whether they want to admit it or not.
Yep.
And I know that this is a word that obviously Madeline doesn't understand. When I ascribe to her to have a libertarian view so that she understands, that means a libertarian is generally a person who says, you know what, I think people should be allowed to make choices about what they do. And she's not, a libertarian would not be in favor of government regulation. Now, she makes it sound like I'm calling her, some ridiculous name. I'm not. I'm saying it describes a belief that she's professing as being an accurate view. I'm generally a conservative. I accept that label because of my views. And if you are a libertarian, it means that you're espousing views that really are consistent with the libertarian philosophy. It's not a bad name, but she treats it like a bad. He's calling me a libertarian. And Madeline Sklar says that I'm a lobbyist. That's it. And I've talked about that before. We all know what the negative connotation of being a lobbyist is, but I am also an advocate. And then they have the audacity to say, well, I'm not even sure if he takes kratom. Well, okay, stretch as far as you want to stretch your kind of nonsense, but I take kratom every day, and it works for me. I had a grandson that knocked a tooth out, and I've been on this months-long journey. Yesterday or Friday, I had the post put in, and the doctor said, well, here's some whatever the dosage of ibuprofen was. I said, I don't need it. And he says,
Probably
why?
800 milligram.
Yeah. And I said, it was a prescription, so it was pretty high. And I said, I take kratom. And he said, what's that? And so I told him, and he said, I'm going to look into it. So, hey, listen, this is what the anti people do. They can't make an argument that's credible, so they decide to attack.
Yeah,
And
they're pulling a Dean.
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
Same strategy, same kind of tactics. It's just the way it is,
And like Mike said, keyboard warriors on X are definitely not testifying at hearings. I have been bombarded with 708ers coming to my comments.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'm just ignoring them, or I'm blocking them. When they start the name calling, I will block them.
And just being very, very just
nasty
rude and just hateful.
Yeah. Well, I get part of it because they feel threatened. They feel like they're on the verge of losing because they're seeing the inevitable result. The way that prohibition does work, by the way, is that it says clearly to a manufacturer and a distributor that if you were involved in the commerce of distributing a scheduled product, you are going to get a felony slapped on you. So retailers, distributors, and some manufacturers are pulling out of this market. They've already started. And that's the smart play, by the way, because this is inevitable that you're going to see a 708 ban. But, again, we've already talked about how they'll just go to other things. But that's not a company that's committed to the 708 people that they hooked. Yep. That's just going to put you on even a worse product with more concentration of the compounds. So we just have to do the best we can here moving forward, and we are committed to that. So we'll see in the end how all of this plays out. But I expect that the DEA has no statutory deadline, by the way. They cannot publish before August 5th, and then it's open-ended. We think that what's happening is that they are taking seriously some of the comments that have been made about whether or not they need to recognize pseudodoxil as a trace amount at a threshold level. I think they're evaluating that, despite their argument that they're never going to enforce on that, because that is a typically non-quantifiable level. We'll see. And then I think that they're looking at some comments on the 708 level that were submitted to the Assistant Secretary for Health comment period, which, by the way, on the official record says that they got over 600,000 comments. And what that resulted from was a AI bot that attacked it, whether by the 708 industry, don't know.
Do you know that for sure yet?
No, we don't know. But the HHS and the whole government has a tool to combat that. They will weed out all of those
And
automatic.
anybody that thinks that can't be done is insane. Like that,
Insane.
anybody could do that. Like you just have to be a little tech savvy to figure out.
Yeah, and
Something
I-
once you get beyond those bots, then you look at the actual credible, the kinds of comments were made, and you look at them. And I looked through about 800 of them, and they were all just 7OH people saying, "Don't take it away from me."
I
that
saw
was-
one that just said, "Don't do this."
Yeah. And I saw a couple that said, "Don't listen to Matt Caddo and the
Yeah.
AK," that kind of nonsense. So what the actual review of the comments will be only those comments that offer some kind of evidence and data that addresses specifically the threshold level of 7OH. That's all that they're going to consider. That'll take a little time given all the nonsense that got put into it. But this is just the way comments work. And I saw it was very interesting that that you had Dean Francis on his last podcast who said, and this is a really interesting thing, he recruited and made contact with a DEA agent who I think was based in Columbus, Ohio. And he said, maybe that was the FDA guy, but he had an FDA guy and a former DEA guy, and they're talking about Kratom. And
He's from Tennessee. Yeah.
Okay.
No, not Templeton.
Okay.
The other guys.
That's a different one. This is a guy, and he said, well, he then talked to someone at headquarters who then told him that these in 2016, when the comments were submitted, that a lot of them were copy and paste. Okay. Now in 2016, when the comments were being solicited, most of that was done at the cash registers of retail shops that were selling Kratom, and there were some shops, I'm told, that said, "Here's what you should say," and they had some 1-line or 2-line script, right? Did that happen? I'm sure it happened, but that doesn't take away that's not a fake comment. The fact that it may have been duplicated, it's just one of those things. And is it evaluated in that context? Of course it is. But to make it sound like, oh, there is this dastardly plot, this is nonsense. But this is what Dean Francis is all about. It's all misdirection. It's all trying to play a game, and he's recruiting anybody and everybody. And of course, there's always the, oh, guess what? On Monday, going to be disaster. Yeah. He plays that carnival game. He's the carnival barker out there.
His son does it too.
Here. Yeah,
his son does it too.
The apple doesn't fall far from the tree, it appears. But I understand that they're passionate about this. I get that. That doesn't give them the right to say things that aren't true. And when you dig down and talk to a former bureaucrat who said, "Oh, I heard this," and this second or third party report, the critical issue is at the headquarters within the diversion control unit where the comments were received. What did they think of it, and what happened? And what happened? They withdrew the recommendation on October 13th. They opened a comment period at that point. 23,232 comments later, they closed the comment period, and they waited for the FDA to provide a full 8-factor analysis so that it could be evaluated. That didn't happen for another year. So this idea that there was something that went wrong with all of these comments, this is not accurate. It's not justified, but it just shows they will take whatever slop they can pick up in their hands and throw it against the wall and think, hopefully it will stick. And, and then you look at the array of people that are involved with Dean Francis and his End Kratom addiction right now. You've got Senator McKell. You've got Patty Discredited Wheeler, in my opinion, based on what we now know about the autopsy. Yeah.
I saw.
Which she said I faked it, by the way. We have a certified copy. So I didn't fake it. You know who I think faked it?
She did.
Yeah.
She did.
The medical examiner certified that this was the tox report. So
I saw that. Yeah, I saw that you posted that on, I think it was LinkedIn. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you have some of the other the Kratom Dangerous Awareness people. And now his newest podcast is going to be with 2 attorneys. They're involved in product liability lawsuits that Eli Cohen and Drew Ashby. This is who he's attracting to his podcast.
The Weatherington people?
Weatherington people, the guys who put up $1 million to
Yeah.
pay the A, and
Yeah.
and you know what the problem is? The AKA is supported by the Kratom companies. Oh, who's he supported by? He's now hired an attorney, Bob Good, former congressman, to be his lobbyist in DC. Well, who hired? He's not doing it for free. Tell me. And by the way, he says I'm awful because I get paid. Well, is Bob Good awful because he's getting paid?
Right.
I mean, this double standard that Dean Francis wants to apply to anyone that's not in his orbit, that doesn't believe the same thing he believes, is just an awful person in his view. And you know what? At some point that wears thin. And we're going to aggressively be pushing back, because we ought to make the decision about proper regulations on kratom products. And I certainly agree with this. And here's another thing that I heard Madeline Sklar say, and this shows, in my opinion, what an absolute total hypocrite she is. She says, "Oh, we're not hearing anything about about all of the extracts. We don't hear about that anymore." Well, Madeline, listen up. We said in 2019 that no extract of kratom extract should be sold if it did not use FDA-approved food-grade solvents. Madeline, listen up. We referred over 100 companies to the FDA that were producing badly formulated or mislabeled products, and we told the FDA to regulate them and referred them for prosecution and for enforcement. Guess what, Madeline? You don't know what you're talking about. This is the beauty of the whole argument. If there were bad actors, and there were, in the natural kratom leaf space, and there are, who were producing extracts using industrial grade solvents that were dangerous, why are they not doing it now? Because they're in the 708 space.
Yep.
Because 708 is a far more powerful. I'm sorry, Madeline, the product you're promoting, which you say you're not promoting, but of course you are. You're blessing it. You're not calling. I need to know how many 708 manufacturers, or I'm sorry, how many of the groups, Heart or Seven Hope Alliance, have referred to the FDA the products in the 708 category that are being advertised to children, that are mislabeling the content of their products. How many have they referred? Not a single one.
Because they would be telling on themselves.
Of course. And for Madeline Sklar to be the saint now of, we just need to protect S7OH consumers. Well, I'm sorry, Madeline, you were promoting the 7OH manufacturers when you go on that webinar, which is funded entirely by the 7OH industry. I'm sorry that you can't have this kind of hypocrisy kind of settle out and you expect to escape it, because you own it when you do that.
She might have been referring to because we're part of, Jen and I are part of the original 4. And at that time, we used to watch the news stories about, people being addicted to extracts and all that stuff. So that might be what she's referring to.
Yeah.
But you don't hear about extracts anymore because 7OH took over.
Right.
Yeah, every bad actor that was in the using industrial grade solvents to make more powerful extract products than should have been allowed, and we reported them, every one of them is gone now to the more powerful products. And that's the bottom line. So, it's just what it is. And, if you're looking for a group that has discredited itself because of their unwillingness to confront the truth, it's the 7OH gals, because I mean, it's absurd. When you listen to them, no reasonable person could walk away from thinking, oh, they're just promoting 7OH, because they are. And they restrict access to their platform, which they say open, honest, discussion. No, it's not. It's one discussion, and that's promoting 7OH. They earned it. They've got it. Their label's clear. Nobody should be paying attention to them. And good luck to them and their 7OH pals, because that's going away.
So what's going to happen when 7OH is scheduled? What are they going to still promote it? Like, it'd be illegal, Are you going to go to the next product?
Yeah, well,
you're going to go from kratom to 7OH to what next?
Well, some of their hosts will obviously go away, because they'll cry for a while and then they'll claim that that the AK put them in this dire strait. I get it.
Maybe they'll do like Dean. Maybe they'll join.
maybe but again, I think that they have so discredited themselves. There's no redemption available to them, because they've denied and denied and denied. And I don't understand why they claim that they're not financially involved. in any of this. I know that that repeatedly Madeline says, I don't take a dime from the 7-OH industry. I don't know if that's an accurate statement or whether there's some carve out on the way that she gets money. I don't know. But I can tell you this, I've had vendors say to me that when they made an offer to try to get some help from Madeline, she said, well, this is how much it's going to be. Now that's to her personally. I don't think it's to the Kratom gals or the 7-OH gals. And if those reports are accurate, then I think there's more of a reckoning that needs to come down, because she certainly made a big deal about how you can't trust the AKA because they're funded by some of the industry people. And that's partially true, but not completely true, because we get a lot of funding from our consumers. And she completely exonerates the 7-OH community. Like Seven Hope Alliance is only and Heart are only comprised of experts and advocates that are doing it out of the goodness of their hearts. None of them are paid.
No, they ain't.
That's what. Of course not. Of course not. This is all the nonsense she peddles.
Oh, and if you see so many of them talk about how much work they're doing behind the scenes, and I said it the other day, they're probably sitting around on a beach.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sipping
drinking
champagne.
Drinking their margaritas, probably rented a yacht, some jet skis, like.
Well, and then I mentioned earlier, Robin Graham has said that I'd crossed the line with her and she's ready to come out. Well, if she does anything more than she's done now, which would be going from 0 to maybe 1% of effort, I would welcome it, because she certainly hasn't been out there doing anything up to this point. And the fact that I might have motivated her to, I don't know, to borrow a phrase, get off her butt, to actually come and participate in some hearing, great. I'd love to hear her input. I'm not afraid of it. And if she says something that I don't agree with, as she could say if she didn't agree with something I've said, then we have a discussion about it. That's all. But this wagging your finger at me and saying, oh, well, he crossed the line on this and now I'm coming for him. Well, good luck, honey, because I don't care. I think I welcome these kinds of discussions, and I welcome in the public forum when people are actually allowed to talk. We do it. And the last thing I'll say about that group is that I invited them, and I've kept an open invitation that we can have a public webinar. I'm not afraid of that, but they don't want that. They want no parts of it, because they want to have their little insulated group of 7-OH advocates and some natural kratom people that are sort of hangers on to it. And they just want to have their little close community. Fine, let them do it. Fine with me.
The amount of people that done crawled out of their rocks like cockroaches on my X account, the amount of 7-OHers that came and just like attacked you, Mac, and me, where have they been to advocate for kratom in all of these hearings? If all these, especially within this past year, I wonder how many bans could have been stopped if those cockroaches crawled out at that time to go advocate at those hearings. They say they advocate for kratom. Where do you advocate for kratom?
They argue on social media is what they do.
Yeah, you're right. And, I respect anyone who puts in the effort to come, even if they disagree with me or our position. That's fine. But these people that are they claim it's like stolen valor. They say, oh, I was there, I was advocating. I get people that tell me all the time, oh, well, I'm going to stop contributing to the AKA because of you.
Well, or they're boycotting the vendors. They're boycotting the vendors now.
Yeah. Well, I checked with many of them that have identified themselves. We checked the records. These people routinely never give a dime, but they want to claim that they have in order to to have credibility. So it's all a pile of sand that the 7-OH gals has built their premise on. And some of these 7-OH people, I get it, they're passionate. I get it, they're fearful of what's going to happen. I feel for them too. But we do not take a fentanyl dealer that sits on a street corner and argue that we can't take that fentanyl dealer off the street when they're killing people. Mm-hmm. We're just not going to let that happen. So there's a line that's drawn, and that line is, do you comply with federal law for the product you've introduced onto the marketplace? If you do not, it's gone. And do you comply with federal law about the introduction of an unsafe product that is harming people? If you've done that, done with you. So that's the level of regulation that's being implemented through the Controlled Substances Act, which again, not a perfect law, but it will at least clean out the marketplace, and then we'll have to deal with what the aftermath of these charlatans who came on the marketplace with their dangerous products, who have left people in the lurch because they are making these 100 milligram, 200 milligram, 300 milligram products
Yep.
that people are ingesting. It's beyond.
And
belief.
when people comment on my media, on my social media, saying that it's the AKA's fault, that they're the ones who brought the attention to it by paying millions of dollars to go after all this stuff, right? And I'm like, no, the AKA is doing damage control.
Right.
Us
Absolutely.
advocates are doing damage control.
I
has
can't
just
tell-
It was just going to sit around on, and going how it was going. Nobody was ever going to do anything is insane. I mean, it's asinine to think that nothing was ever going to be done.
I can't tell you the number of legislators that I've had personal conversations with who think Kratom is 7-OH.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they and everything, no matter how much information gets put out there, they're not focused on it. They just hear the overall talking point.
Yep.
Oh, it's the same thing. And then you had the governor of North Dakota say, well, you wouldn't have the synthetics if you didn't have the natural kratom leaf product. What in the world are we talking about? I mean, okay, the FDA bans concentrated caffeine. Do we take coffee off the market that has caffeine in it? No, it's responsible regulation. But we've sort of gotten into this crazy world that was built, constructed, and infused into this debate by the 7-OH manufacturers, who didn't care about consumer safety. They cared only about making a buck. Fast as they could get you hooked, they wanted to do it. They wanted you coming back and buying their products over and over again. And at the end of the day, they are responsible for where we are. Not the kratom plant that happens to contain a threshold amount of 7-OH, and not your liver, because it converts into low levels, and your body that does it over time. I mean, all of this is like a crazy Willy Wonka world that's been created by the likes of charlatans, in my opinion. Michelle Ross. I mean, she has contributed massively to the disinformation campaign in the 7-OH community. And there are others in the Seven Hope Alliance and the Heart Group that have done the very same thing. And if they want to look at who the perpetrators are of all of this disinformation, it's Vince Sanders, it's Mr. Beckham was with Outpost Brands, it's Matt Schwerman. And this is another thing that I find fascinating, is that the 7-OH people have leaped, and the anti-kratom people have leaped on the New York Times story that was done about the political donations made by the Botanics founder J.W. Ross, and by Ryan Nidell from Mid45. And now it is evidenced in the Ron Wyden letter to both HHS Secretary Kennedy and to the Botanic Tonics founder, and they also has a vape person they're interested in. But all of that, everybody looks at and says, oh my goodness, look at the political corruption, because person X gave this amount of money in order to have a seat at the table. Yes. And you know what? I told the New York Times reporter, I gave her the evidence that Matt Schwerman gave $500,000, and there was more money that up to over $1 million. And look at the amount of money that was infused into the Washington, D.C. Television market, with the persistent ads that had jets flying over an American flag and thanking President Trump for supporting 7-OH, which, by the way, is based on it has pounded this market, and they've been doing it for a month now. And all of it was based on the misstatement the president made in the Oval Office on his addiction recovery initiative and his executive order, where he said, I'm all for getting natural 7-OH approved, which they leaped on. But my point is, they spent millions of dollars on that, and yet for the New York Times to exclude that. Now, I can tell you why, if anyone wants to know. Why did that reporter exclude that information?
It doesn't fit their narrative.
Right.
The New York Times hates the Trump administration.
Yeah.
Senator Wyden hates the Trump administration. This is part of a much broader effort that, after the midterm elections, assuming that the Democrats win control of the House of Representatives, which they think they will, this is going to be 2 years of impeachment trials. And they're building the evidence against Donald Trump. Well, you know what? That shouldn't even be a part of this discussion. The discussion should be, is 7-OH safe or not? It's not. So take it off the market. Fine,
Right.
let's do that. Let's find a way to properly regulate kratom products in the marketplace. Let's do that. Let's protect
Politics.
consumers. But all of the rest of this is just a bunch of folder off. I've been in politics for 50 years. I have seen repeatedly the infusion of money, much to my frustration most of the time.
Yeah.
That you can't get through to get your story told because people are doing it. In our system, it works. It's legal, by the way, and it works. I can tell you that I had an issue that I wanted to have presented in the Oval Office on behalf of a client when Obama was in office. And the word that we got back was, you need to contact so-and-so, and it will cost you $50,000 for that meeting. And it was part of the Chicago mafia, the political mafia. I mean, that's just the way the process worked. And I think that the reality that we face today is that the system that was being described by the New York Times and by some of the articles that republished it, and now by the 7-OH people, it's just craziness. And I think that the bottom line is that we need to go back to what actually is the foundation of this argument. Is kratom in its natural form safe for human consumption, and is it schedulable? The answer to the first is yes, it is. That's been proven by science. And two, is it schedulable? The answer is no, in its natural occurring forms.
It's hell no.
Trace it. Right, hell no, exactly. And it's really interesting. Someone who I think is a part of the Dean Francis team called me up and tried to get into a confrontational discussion about how I was mischaracterizing the FDA dose finding study and saying, oh, well, that was just a very small study and it really wasn't a safety study. I mean, just the ridiculous narrative. There's no question that it was a small study. It was designed to determine whether or not kratom was safe for human consumption in order to allow for a human abuse potential study, which is now going on right now. So in order to do that, the law says you cannot expose a participant in a study trial to an unsafe condition of participating in the trial with the compound that's being tested. So it is a critically important premise to go through and find that safety data, and it is a valid, scientifically recognized process. The same thing has happened with the new NIH study that was announced on June 1st, where they're looking at purified metrogenine, meaning pharmaceutical grade compound. Can it be effective in the use to combat opioid use disorder? And the answer to that is it might be. But it had to go through an institutional review board to do the same kind of safety analysis that was done in the dose finding study, and yet they all want to dismiss it. I'll tell you what it was not. It was not a full-blown human clinical trial used for the justification for a pharmaceutical product. That cost millions. It is something that you have to have a lot of SWAT behind in terms of financial support and risk-based capital for a drug. Now that's appropriate for 7-OH. It's not appropriate for natural kratom. So that is the bottom line. And these people that try to hijack this whole process and say, oh, that was just a very small trial. That small trial led to the clearance for human abuse potential trial. That small trial led the FDA internal group of the career scientists to say, whoops.
Yeah.
Whoops. And
You should make
Small things make big waves.
splashes. Yeah. You should make an infograph. You should do a timeline, a chronological infograph about that.
I'm going to have someone help me with that, because here's a confession I'm going to make for all the 7-OH people and all of the anti-kratom people. I am stupid about making infographics, but I'm going to try. And I'm going to see what I can come up with. I'm going to get some help. I've got some really good people that could do that kind of thing that could help me. So,
Well, the Brandon Clark one you did was amazing, I thought.
Yeah.
wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like
Did
that.
you do that one?
Yes, I was so proud. Well,
So you're not stupid.
I got some.
No.
I was smart enough to get help, but I was stupid if I tried to do it on my own.
Okay. That was a good
You know
infograph.
what Dean Francis is going to say, or Cameron, they're going to say tomorrow, Mac had to admit he was stupid. Yeah, I am.
Find
That's
out
what
more
they
on
do.
Tuesday. Yeah,
That's
find
what
out
they
more on Tuesday.
The AK will come crashing
TikTok.
down with a stupid award as Tuesday on Tuesday. I mean, these carnival
TikTok.
barkers.
TikTok. Get out of here.
Yeah,
TikTok.
I know he's
TikTok.
always. It's like Coach Dean, man. He's like, you gotta stick around and wait. I got some drama to drop on Tuesday.
Nobody
Yeah.
hold your breath though.
Oh, and now Cameron says, Mac, you're going to love the video we're doing of all your past statements. I can't wait. I mean, you talk about somebody that will take a slice of information and cut it up and make it sound like I said something I didn't. That's sort of where we're headed with that, right? And you look, listen, Cameron, I don't know all of the facts, obviously. When you look at what's available out there on the Open Truth website, which I think is a valuable resource for everyone to look at, you look at his story in terms of the research that was done. What is true, what is absolutely true, is that his father, Dean Francis, in December of 2025, immediately prior to the Virginia legislative session, and I'm paraphrasing, I get the exact quote, said that the reason the Kratom industry hates my son's story is because it's only about natural kratom leaf products and not the extracts or the synthetics. That's what he said. And now we find out, oh, wait a minute, that wasn't true. It wasn't true. It's not that it was, oh, maybe I missed the little point. It was fundamentally not true because Cameron's journey involved the consumption of multiple other substances, including alcohol. And there's a dispute, at least in Cameron's mind, if he could even remember what came first. He claims it was kratom that led him as the gateway to alcohol. Well, that's not supported by any science I've seen.
That's not what I remember. I remember him taking kratom so that he wouldn't drink at the college frat parties.
Yeah.
So it's all kinds of confusion about this. And then Cameron says, well, of course it evolved for me. It evolved. And so I went to extracts and then I went to 7-OH. What? I mean, that's not what his father said. That's not what he said. And that's in December of 2025. And it is not what he said at the congressional or the legislative hearings in Virginia. It's not. And yet he sits there and says with a straight face, oh, well, my story evolved. Well, guess what didn't evolve? Your father's statement, which was untrue. And is it true today that statement was untrue? Of course it is, but they're trying to excuse it, and that was the premise for their fight before the Virginia legislature. And I'm telling you, it is absolutely wrong to do what they did.
Yeah.
There's not even a question about it. And I've got the picture of the ceremonial signing of the kratom bill that was not a ban. Wasn't the demise of the kratom industry in Virginia the way it was promised by Dean Cameron. It was a signing of a bill that included some labeling language that was inconsistent with federal law and isn't on anybody else's. So we argued against it because it's not accurate. It doesn't inform consumers properly. And it's inconsistent with federal labeling law under the Dietary Supplement Health and Education Act. And it doesn't actually reflect what the current status of the science is. So we of course objected to it, but they had the ceremonial signing and it shows Delegate Cole, who was their sponsor, great guy, and it has the governor, and then it has Dean sitting there smiling and has Cameron. Mm-hmm. Now, I will bet money there was no confession by Dean saying, well, ma'am, Madam Governor, I actually was on 7-OH. Now, it would have been easily recallable because it was only 3 weeks before that ceremonial signing that his dad was calling 911 and saying that his son had walked in with an empty fifth of whiskey, didn't even believe he was drinking, had multiple empty bottles in his car, that he took the keys away from him because he told the 911 operator he's going to kill somebody. And he said, what's he on? Well, he's on 7-OH. And the operator said, what's 7-OH? Well, 7-OH. And then he gives a tutorial of what 7-OH is. The fact that he wasn't on 7-OH, all of a sudden he is. And he said he's hallucinating and he doesn't even believe he's drinking. And he's a danger. He's a danger to other people. That's Dean Cameron's words, no one else's. And you know what the problem with all this is? The facts come out. Mm-hmm. What happened? What would have happened if we didn't have this information?
Exactly.
And he gets to continue to play the game. And then we find out that his son went to Mexico for a rehab facility. And the argument is, oh, well, that was for kratom. Well, there's evidence now emerging that he was on other substances. And then his explanation is, Well, the kratom led me to those other substances. I mean,
Oh, goodness
this is
gracious.
this is an ongoing, enlarging story. It starts here, and it keeps growing, keeps growing, keeps growing, keeps growing. Now it's out of proportion.
Like
I've told-
7OH.
yeah, yeah. I've told people before that I had a son that had struggles with some issues not related to drugs, but he had the same kind of problem. He would say one thing to me, knowing that that's what I wanted to hear, and then I would find out the truth. Sometimes it was silly stuff. Sometimes it was dangerous stuff. I found out that he was racing another car with 4 other kids in our neighborhood. He was taking to school at an excess of 100 miles an hour.
Oh,
And I called those parents and I said, I'm going to do my best to stop this nonsense, but you are crazy to let your kid get in the car with my kid.
Yeah.
Just so
yeah.
you know. That's what I did. Now, I think that's responsible parenting. I got to the point where I went to court and asked them to remove his license.
Hmm.
And the judge says, well, I don't know why we can do that because, he's just a kid. Well, no, he's a dangerous kid. And then he told me afterwards, well, Dad, I have 4 other licenses. I mean, what do you say to that? Now,
Where there's a will, there's a way.
yeah, exactly. But I knew when his lips were moving, he wasn't telling me the truth. He was lying. And yet, here's Dean, oh, my son, he's opened up about his journey. I don't think he's opened up very well, because if you said that he was never on any of this other stuff that was just naturally kratom, I don't think that Cameron was giving you the true story, unless Dean, you're willing to say I lied too. Maybe
Yeah.
that's part of it.
I mean, dude, the truth's always going to prevail. Why just keep on adding to the snowball?
Yeah.
Just
That
get it
that
over
closet
with.
that
Rip that
closet's
Band-Aid off.
opened. Yeah, that
Yeah.
skeleton in that closet. That skeleton that peeked out right here.
Yeah.
Cameron follows me now, and he follows us on our YouTube, right? He commented the other day, and I keep saying, I'm waiting for you to do the debate or live stream with Mac. I will moderate. Let's do this, Cameron. I want to go through my chronological timeline of how my active addiction devolved, unlike yours that evolved, because I know why yours evolved.
So do you hear his answer? Do you hear his answer? And his father, before he blocked
It was
me,
crickets.
No. He's actually said there's you need to check. I certainly answered me.
Oh,
He said, or maybe it was Todd Underwood. He answered. He said, "Why would we have a discussion when there really is no productive outcome? Because none of the stuff that you're saying is true about me." Well, the way you test any theory is you have a discussion about it. Whenever you test anybody's claim, you have a discussion about it and expose the truth or the lack of the truth. And it would be easy for him to come on and say, you know what? The people that are saying that that kratom, that alcohol came first, well, here's the proof.
Right.
Yeah.
Do that. And people that are saying that I took 7OH and I didn't, then here's the proof. And people are saying that I went to Mexico and had ibogaine treatments, that it wasn't for kratom, that was actually for alcohol, then here's the truth. Whatever he wants to say, but he conveniently wants to be in a position of saying none of what they're saying is true, but I don't have to prove it. I don't have to say anything, and I'm not going to lower myself to get on any kind of a public discussion where they might be able to ask a question that I'm really not prepared to answer. Not going to do that, because I'm above that, and my dad's above that. And my dad's off interviewing these, low-level bureaucrats that were around when this discussion was taking place. And no disrespect to them, but they weren't the people in the main offices making these decisions. They were just relying on hearsay. They've been recruited by Dean, however he's done it. And certainly I can't wait to hear from Drew Ashby and Eli Cohen, Matt Wetherington's partners, to hear what they have to say. Because let me guess, they're going to say that kratom is really bad and that all these people in the kratom industry are terrible people, and they all have these shady pasts. I mean, this will be what they'll do, and it's just their attempt to try to justify, and that's the bottom line. They are justifying the way that they've conducted themselves up to now, because this should be about a discussion how to properly regulate kratom products. Mm-hmm. And I heard on a podcast in Richmond, Virginia, that that Dean Francis did, and this is part of the charlatan attitude that he has. I believe people probably are benefiting from Kratom. That's what he said. Well, if you believe that, then why in the world aren't you willing to carve out a good regulatory scheme that lets them have access to it for properly formulated, properly regulated, and age-gated products? Why not do that? Oh, but he wants to have it both ways.
Patty
That's
Wheeler
what he
says the
does.
same thing. So does some
Yeah.
KDA members.
No, Patty Wheeler no longer says that.
Oh, I know that.
Patty
Yeah.
Wheeler-
She's flip-flopped again, huh?
Yeah, she used to say that, and she said it. She said it on public broadcast and said, I don't want to take it away. I just want it to be, I want people to be informed and I want it to be regulated. Well, that all
Transparency.
ended. Yeah, that all ended when she went out there and talked to Mike McKell and got, her picture taken up on the dais and got recognized on the floor. And he told her, you're not going to sell a documentary, which she hadn't been able to sell up to that point, on regulation. You got to say it, need to ban that stuff. And then all of a sudden she's a convert. And she's singing to the heavens that we need to ban this stuff. And for her to go on, now she sold her documentary to some unknown platform. She's touting that, celebrating it, gets on 2 local television stations in Jacksonville, Florida, where she lives. I talked to one reporter, very reasonable reporter. She said, "Hey, send me the stuff. I'm glad to look at this. I don't know the truth of the matter one way or another." Then I talked to the second reporter, this gentleman, who in my 50 years in working in public policy and having hundreds and hundreds of conversations with reporters, I've never quite met someone like this. And he's yelling at me on the phone about, how could I dare contradict what this woman is saying about her son who died from Kratom? And it was one nasty thing after another. And finally I said, look, I don't know what you're saying. You tell me that Patty Wheeler has told you, and you think that he had massive quantities of metrogeny in his system. I have the talk screen. And I sent him the talk screen. And then in a text, and I put this up on LinkedIn article that I did, in the text, he says, well, I showed it to her. She doesn't have that. She's never seen it. And she thinks you faked it.
Mm-hmm.
That's
faked it.
wild.
A certified tox report from the medical examiner in Texas. What? This whole story is falling apart. And yet the 60 Minutes crew that interviewed her, that they're doing a story this fall on Kratom, and they believed every single word she said. And they got pretty pushy. Now, they were much more decent. They were more interested in hearing the contradictory evidence, but they were bought and sold the narrative by Patty Wheeler. And of course, that's a great story, right? Kid dies, grieving mother, documentary, and she's got the proof. And all of a sudden,
Grieving mother with money somehow.
yeah,
She got money.
I think she's got
Married into it?
I have no idea, but you can tell when she talks about how her 2 sons, when they were, I think, 9 or 10 years old, were doing this journey around the world to various, and it was some kind of television program. And then she was at her home. Yeah. And then she's at her home in Aspen, and she's at her home in Jacksonville. I don't have a home in Aspen. And, I have a home in Gainesville,
I live out here.
Virginia.
I can't. You go up there to even just visit Aspen. You need at least $300 just to go visit, because it's so expensive up there.
And look, I'm not disparaging anyone if they've been successful in their lives, but she's obviously got money. She's got connections in Hollywood.
Yeah.
She is now on this crusade, and I think that she was initially embarrassed because she was taking a fairly reasonable position, and that wasn't getting her anywhere. And all of a sudden, she found that the Mike McKells of the world and the Matt Halls of the world, who's the Speaker of the Michigan House, will suddenly fawn all over her. And she gets to be, on the floor of the Utah Senate and be recognized, and everyone applauding for her. All in a fake story, in my opinion. I mean, this is bizarre. In terms of
it's like did you watch the Open Truths video about the newest Florida death?
I did.
It's kind of like what the mom did there. Initially, she was going after just 7-OH. Now it's all Kratom. She's saying that Kratom killed her son, when initially she said it was 7-OH that killed her son, even though he had other drugs in his system and he has some underlying health problems. But still, she switched her tune as well. Yeah, I'm telling you, these people are being coached. And you know who the common denominator is? KDA and Matt Weatherington.
Amen.
Yeah.
So
I understand the opinion. I think it's relatively well grounded. And why would people initially come out and say, and we've had this isn't the first time
yeah.
we've heard parents say, oh, my kid behavior was irresponsible, other things, and all of a sudden, whoops, no, it's just kratom. It was only naturally kratom.
Mm-hmm. I got some pinned. How much longer you got with this, Mac?
I've got 15 minutes.
Okay.
20 minutes. 20 minutes.
I got some pinned comments here. Okay, so Mike says Madeline had a question something about that finance department senator letter to feel free or whatever. Do you want to expand on that even more? You already mentioned it.
Yeah, I feel like that's another Dean Francis tactic. People keep throwing that out, and it's really not even a big deal.
When someone sent it to me, I said, you know what? I don't GAF about that.
Yeah,
that has
exactly.
nothing to do with me. I don't care.
Exactly.
So when you look at Senator Ron Wyden, is the ranking minority on the Senate Finance Committee, and it's the committee. If this were just from a member of Congress or a member of the Senate, it would be a little different. But he's using his oversight authority as the ranking member on the Senate Finance Committee to issue these requests for information. So what he has done, he's asked for Jerry Ross from Botanic Tonics to answer specific questions that are in the letter, and he's given a deadline of the end of the month for that to happen. And then he's asked for Secretary Kennedy to do the same thing. And then on a separate vaping issue, he's asking for the president of the company, who gave substantial amount of money to the MAGA PAC and to some other fundraising groups, and wanting him to answer questions. So those are all within the scope of the authority of his office as the ranking member of the Senate Finance Committee. Based on what he receives back, he will then determine whether he can go to the committee chair and ask for a full oversight hearing. So this is in the investigation phase. Now, the important part of that letter is to understand the context of it, because again, it talks only about the contributions that were made to the various political contribution entities, and then what he connects to actions taken by Secretary Kennedy or Commissioner McCary on the vaping side. So this is Washington at its finest, right?
Mm-hmm.
The purpose of this letter is transparently to really go after the Trump administration. They want, Secretary Kennedy to be exposed for having taken actions. Now, he does not ask, Senator Wyden does not ask for any information from the 7OH people, which tells me that the guidance that he's being provided here is really being led by the anti-kratom forces in the form of Dean Francis or whatever, and they fed them a bunch of information. Again, they're right to do so. What Senator Wyden has not asked for, but he will definitely receive, is a more balanced presentation on this, because they need to hear this. And the reality is that it does not matter, in my opinion, because I've seen it happen thousands of times here in Washington. Someone shows up, check in hand, attends a fundraising event, gets to meet with a public official, whether it's a member of the Senate. Well, let's say hypothetically it's Senator Wyden, who has received millions of dollars, or at least over $1 million, from Big Pharma. It doesn't mean that when Ron Wyden cast his vote that he's somehow a whore for the pharma industry. It means that they support the policies that he believes in. And the same is true for Secretary Kennedy. If Secretary Kennedy came to the conclusion, based on the evidence and data presented to him, that kratom should be allowed in a regulated form to be on the market in its natural form, and wanted 7OH banned, if he came to that conclusion, then the fact that someone then supports that and then supports the MAGA PAC or whatever they're arguing about, there's nothing unusual or wrong about that. But if you're going to do it, if you're going to accuse people of that being the case, then why not show the other side that gave equal or more money to try to get the same message across? And what was the difference between the Botanic Tonics money and the 7OH money when it came to meeting with or getting the support of Secretary Kennedy? They matched each other, or the 7OH people gave more. It was the science. It was a decision made based on, and I've been in the secretary's office. I know exactly what happens there. They have a team of people called the executive secretariat. And the executive secretariat are these career people. At the time I was there back in 1982, I think that there were about 14 or 15 policy analysts who scrutinize every single decision that the department makes. So they gather the information from the agencies that are under the umbrella of HHS. They scrutinize it. They then produce an action memo, and they outline the pros and cons of every single issue that's being deliberated. And there isn't a decision made by the Secretary of HHS that isn't grounded in a full evaluation and of all the relevant evidence and data. So that's for Secretary Kennedy. And I think the record will show, and at the end of the day, Senator Wyden's not going to get much traction there.
Yeah.
Different from, and readily acknowledge this, different from the executive from the vaping company, or in this case, the cigarette company that with vaping, that had a dinner meeting with Secretary Trump, where allegedly at the conclusion of the discussion that they had about vaping, that President Trump picked up his phone and called Commissioner McCary, then the FDA commissioner at the time, and said, I want you to do X. Look into it. I want you to change, whatever he said. Now, the difference here is that Secretary Kennedy is a confirmable political appointee answerable to the United States Senate. The President of the United States is answerable to the people who elected him. He is the top dog. He's the decision maker. And it's not surprising to me, seeing the way that Donald Trump works, whether you like it or not. And there's certainly many things I don't like the way he does things, but he picks up the phone as the CEO elected by the voters in the United States, by the majority, and he calls his appointee and says, what the hell are you doing? I mean, it's that kind of thing. I remember a particular instance with a governor in a state where I was working for a client that had an issue where the agency had gone rogue about a public policy. We're sitting in the office of the governor and we made our pitch. And the governor asked a bunch of questions. And at the end of the day, he said, so let me understand, that agency decided that they wanted to assess fines against you and you had already complied, and that the fines that they're asking you to pay are not legitimate. And they said, absolutely right. So the governor picks up the phone, calls the agency head and said, I want you to explain to me why you assess this kind of fine. And the agency head said, well, I agree with you, Governor, but the career staff here said they don't want to let that happen because it would set a bad precedent if we admitted we made a mistake. And the governor said, I want you to issue an order that we are not going to hold this company accountable because the staff doesn't want there to be a precedent set that they made a mistake. And the agency head said, I'm sorry, Governor, I can't do that. And the governor said, I understand completely. He said, clear your office out by the end of the day.
Oh,
Now, that's an example of executive leadership where, now, whether he had all the information, but he didn't need it after he heard with the explanation from the agency head. That's what chief executives do. So that's different than Secretary Kennedy, vastly different. But what the 7OH people are trying to do, and in this case, the anti-kratom people, and I think certainly Senator Wyden wanting to put his attack mode on the Trump administration to embarrass Secretary Kennedy. The difference is that Secretary Kennedy had a army of people behind him that were advising him on this issue, and the fact that he made a decision which is well grounded in the science is not in any way a violation of his public trust. And the fact that there are people like Botanic Tonics and Mid45 that made contributions in order to sit down at a fundraising event and have a discussion is nothing unusual. And the 7OH people are doing the same thing. And the fact that when they balanced it, the natural kratom leaf products came out on top, nothing wrong with that. And nothing that Secretary Kennedy did after that was in any way did anything that would have violated his public trust. So this is a lot of a lot of falderah that's all politically based. And
Mhm.
I find it almost entertaining to hear the wailing that goes on and say, "Oh, look how terrible this was." Well,
Oh,
my
no.
God, where have you been? Put your head's been in the sand, because
Mhm.
this is the way politics works in Washington
Yep.
D.C. and just the way life is, you know. And there have been the way that Congress appropriately regulates is that I've seen in my 50 years in working in the government relations arena. That's a lobbyist, fancy word, in lobbying, that there have been changes in lobbying rules, and it has been much more difficult in order to actually get your message across. It used to be that you could take a member of Congress to lunch or dinner or breakfast, and you could have a conversation with him, and you could pay for the meal, right? He had to report it, or she. I mean, that was just the way it was. Now you can't do that. You should be go out and you can invite them to play golf, and you can't do that.
That's like
Now,
the farmer reps.
yeah, and I remember at a charity event out in Idaho at the I was we had a practice golf round, and I was sitting in the golf court, and they just randomly assign somebody to come and play with you, right? And this guy sits next to me, and he says, "I've been assigned to play with you. Is that okay?" I said, "Sure." And I start driving down to the first hole, and he introduces himself, and his name was Tom DeLay, who was at the time the majority leader in the House of Representatives.
Oh my
And
gosh.
we struck up this strong friendship, all because we were sitting next to each other on a golf cart and played a round of golf. And he became a very good friend of mine for years. Now that relationship developed. Was there anything improper about the relationship? The fact he got randomly? No, there wasn't. He was at a charity golf event, and it was for ALS research or something, and we developed that relationship. That kind of thing is gone largely from Washington today, but it's the way things get done. And Jim Clyburn, you guys, I'm going to show you his picture just a minute.
Okay.
Yeah, I just think it's crazy when people try and bring that kind of stuff up. Like, it's just,
Yeah.
come on.
So this is me when I was much younger. Can you see it?
Do you have a
Oh
mugshot?
yeah, dude.
So this is this is Jim Clyburn, who is a Democrat representative from South Carolina. He has an annual fundraising event. It's a golf tournament, and he uses the proceeds from that golf tournament to fund laptop computers for underprivileged kids graduating from high school as they're going to college. Great charity.
Love
And
that.
and just by happenstance, they have a couple of dinners during this tournament. It's over a 2-day period. And I'm sitting at the same table with Jim Clyburn, and we're all going around the table introducing ourselves. And now Jim Clyburn was the majority leader of the House of Representatives at the time, right? So he's got a very influential position. And I was there because we wanted to support him, right? We wanted to get a seat at the table. And luckily, I had a seat at the table with a room full of 200 people, and I got assigned to sit at his table. And in part of the introduction, we were asked to say what our political background was, and I thought that was a funny thing. And I said, well, I started my political career in running Orrin Hatch's campaign for the U.S. Senate, and Jim Clyburn slapped his hand on the table. He goes, "You what?" And I thought, well, this is a Democrat Republican kind of thing. And I started to say, maybe I shouldn't have said it. And he said, "I do not like Orrin Hatch." And I said, that surprised me because Orrin Hatch was kind of a bipartisan guy. I mean, he was a conservative, obviously fought for the things he believed in, but he reached across the aisle and worked with people on the Democratic side all the time. One of his best friends in the world was Ted Kennedy. So I said to Congressman Clyburn, I said, well, why? And he said, I have a bill that I've been trying to get passed for, I think it was 4 or 5 years, that benefits the Low Country, which is the area in South Carolina. He said this is his description. He said it was a rat shit issue, but it's important to me. He said it's very important to me and my constituents. He said, and Orrin Hatch holds me up all of the time. I said, what do you mean he holds you up? Well, he blocks it. He won't even let it come to a vote in the committee. I said, well, that's surprising to me. He said, well, you need to tell him he needs to fix it. And I said, okay, Congressman, I'll do that. He goes, when are you going to do it? And I said, well, when I see him next. He goes, why don't you go call him now? What? So now he's testing me. Do I really have a relationship with Hatch or not, right? And so I said, excuse me, I'll go do that. So I walked outside. This is a big tent. I walked outside and I called Senator Hatch and I said, Orrin, do you have any idea what Clyburn's talking about? And Orrin said, no, I have no idea. What do you mean I'm holding this up? Of course, this is all staff work, right?
Yeah.
Somebody on Hatch's staff was blocking this bill for whatever reason, and I don't know. And certainly Hatch didn't know. And I said, well, let me see if I can get Clyburn to come out and let him describe it to you. So I walked back in. I've got my cell phone, and Clyburn's sitting there. I said, well, I've got Senator Hatch on the phone. He'd like to talk to you. And Clyburn said, you what? He goes, you were able to get a hold of him? I said, yeah. And he goes, well, I couldn't get a hold of him. I tried him all kinds of times. I said, well, I did. And I handed him the phone, and they had a conversation. And 2 days later, that bill passed the United States Senate. Okay. And Clyburn called me his favorite Republican in the world. Now, I know he was just making that up, but it shows you that sometimes things can happen. But for the fact that I had paid to be a participant in a fundraising event in South Carolina where that happened, right? Was there anything nefarious about it? No. Did I represent Congressman Clyburn? No, I did not. It was just a sidebar issue that was important to him that had gotten hung up because of the bureaucratic chicanery that goes on.
What year was this?
Legislative offices.
80.
This would have been, I'm guessing, in early 2000s.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
I think
So I was just gonna say. So was this the time when cell phones were in briefcases?
No. That was in the early 80s when that was going on. They were more sophisticated, but
I do have a confession though. I always thought that picture behind you was a picture of Gary Busey. I didn't know it was you.
It does look similar to Gary Busey. Heidi said she'd always wondered. I always wondered who was in that picture. So now we know. That was a great story too. Thank you, Mac.
Heck yeah.
No, and to this day, when I see Congressman Clyburn, we have a good laugh. I mean, he's a great guy. Now, there isn't much that I think that he believes in that is good for America, and there's not much of what he thinks, just the flip side, right? But he's a good guy. And what we have lost too often in politics today, unfortunately, is there's not that kind of civility that goes on, right? And Jim Clyburn's of that era, and Hatch was too, to do that. But but that's just one example. So but full circle, coming back to it, this idea that because someone gave some amount of money, and now the numbers are higher, back in the day with Obama was 50,000. Now it's what it is. I mean, $500,000 to just sit down and have a conversation about these things does not mean that you bought influence. It does not mean that you bought a decision. It does not mean that your money supersedes science. And I can tell you that knowing the infrastructure at HHS, that ain't happening with any kind of a discussion that Secretary Kennedy was going to have on any issue. It had to be driven by the science. And that's what did the deed there, not a contribution from anybody, because that's just the competitive marketplace. What it does do, I'll tell you, it absolutely does. It gives you a seat at the table at a fundraising event where you can shake hands with, get a picture with, a official, and even make your case. But I guarantee you that nothing has happened out of HHS until they vetted it properly through a dozen or more analysts, and then you have the sieve coming up above that of the people that are supervising this, and this includes consultations in this case with the FDA commissioner, with the chief of staff, with the deputy commissioner, deputy secretary. All of those things happen because it's not just the Wild West the way it was portrayed.
Okay, well,
we do have a couple of questions. I know
advocacy questions.
Wanted to know about the two people want to know about the kratom ban in Kentucky. I know it's supposed to be July of 2020.
July 1st, 2027.
July 1st, 2027. I know it's confusing because if you Google it and it comes up and it says that it's January 1st. That was amended. That bill, the extension was amended in the override session to July 1st of 2027, which gives us the full legislative session to make our case about why the recommendation from an addiction recovery center that was made to the president of the Senate that convinced him to insert that ban in the last day of the legislative session in Kentucky without any hearings or public testimony. So I think we'll, in January, when they start up again, sometimes it's I can't remember if Kentucky's in February. It's January, February. We'll have that opportunity to have the discussion and hopefully hearings on it.
Okay, and then the other question is, all right, talk about Ohio. They threw out the lawsuit.
Well, they threw out the preliminary injunction that had been brought by Botanic Tonics. They did not throw out our agreement, which was signed off by the judge, which allows for all kratom forms prior to the enactment of the rule on natural kratom leaf, vegetative kratom is legal in the state. So what we are doing now at the AKA is that we're filing a separate complaint against the Department of Agriculture, not the Board of Pharmacy, because we think that their policy is incorrect and impedes the ability of consumers to have access to safely formulated natural leaf kratom products. So that litigation will be filed next week. So it's a little confusing. On last Monday, at the Board of Pharmacy meeting in Ohio, they had the metrogenine rule, which would have been that rule that would have banned all kratom in the state of Ohio, was on the agenda. They took no action. No. And I think that's because the legislature kind of served them up a pretty stern warning. They better not be doing that. We'll see. But that's the story on Ohio. I know this is confusing. It's like what we're seeing in Florida. We filed litigation against the Department of Agriculture. They agreed to wait and see what the Attorney General's office would do in respect to the federal scheduling of 7-OH, which will change what the Florida Attorney General is going to do. And then the Department of Agriculture completely withdrew their rule on Friday. And there is no longer a labeling requirement in Florida. That's news to some people in Florida because I haven't circulated this yet. But that's the fact in Florida. Where for now,
labeling requirement for kratom.
Yeah, what the Florida Department of Agriculture did is that they wanted a very strict labeling requirement for natural kratom leaf products with respect to synthetics that was ridiculous, and they were treating all kratom literally. You had to prove you weren't a controlled substance, and that's not the way the law works. And it's not what the rule said. So now they've withdrawn their rule, subject to whatever the Attorney General does after the DEA publishes their rule. They'll modify their rule to be compliant, and then the Department of Agriculture will reissue their rule. May not get us out of the woods in terms of their heavy bias against natural kratom leaf products, but we're making progress. But the sad part is we have to sue these people. Very difficult process, very expensive, but it's what we're reduced to because of very bad, formulation of public policy that should be taking place at these agencies better than it is.
And I know that's like KDA and Weatherington and all them. They want to bleed the kratom industry dry. Yeah. Like even the 7-OHers now, they want to bleed y'all dry.
Yeah,
so
they're
can't do
mad.
Anything.
Right, they're mad and they're going to act out. So just we have to. I hope everybody continues to support us. We need the help. We've got hearings in North Dakota this week, and then the next week in Helena, Montana, then in Georgia. This is craziness, but all driven by 7-OH.
Yeah,
every bit of it. And anybody in the 7-OH community wants to say, "Oh no, that's not true." They're wrong. It is absolutely true, and it is propaganda being peddled by the likes of, at least in my opinion, these Michelle Ross saying, "Oh, we should regulate it and only put it in the shops where 7-OH people can go to buy it, and not natural kratom leaf product customers." So this is a battle that's on our hands. It is an existential crisis, and we've got to be prepared to meet it because we can win on the science, and we're committed to that. We're going to continue to fight for it. And
not only do we win on the science, Mac, we win on people testifying. So if anybody watching this lives in North Dakota, you have got to show up on August 12th.
Yeah.
The AKA updated their protectkratom.org North Dakota link. So I posted that up today.
Good.
You guys need to send out an email blast, though, obviously. I didn't know about Helena, Montana. Is that going to be a board of pharmacy one or legislature?
Say that again. I'm sorry.
Helena, Montana.
Okay, so this is legislative. They have two bills that they are going to promote. One is a ban bill and one is a regulation bill. So the committee likely is going to pass out a both and say let the full legislature decide. Originally, it was just a ban bill, and now we're at least getting a regulation bill on the table, and we think that the committee will recommend both for consideration and let the full legislature make that decision.
Is there going to be virtual testimony option?
I know there's a testimony. I assume they've done it in the past. I assume that they'll allow that. We'll get the details on it.
Okay. And so
It's on the 19th, and I think it's like in Mountain Time. I think it's around 1:30 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, something like that.
okay. And then so what, August 21st was
I'm sorry. I need to change that. I just looked at it. It's at 4:05 p.m. So Mountain Time.
well, that works for me. I can't stand the early morning ones, Mac.
Yeah.
I swear, I literally just roll out of bed, go make my coffee, and then I'm on the computer. Sometimes I'm in my nightgown still.
Yeah.
Yeah, I go live.
Neither one of us are real big morning. I mean, I get my kids off to school and stuff, but I'm not a big morning person.
But I have my camera off so they can't see me on the nightgown.
Yeah.
But no, Mel, so as of August 5th, 7OH is banned, correct? No, it's not. It hasn't gone into effect yet. They're having to weed through the 600,000 AI bot comments, most likely.
Well,
which I feel like was deliberately done. I truly do. I feel like it was deliberate, so that it would buy them time. That's what I feel like.
Yeah, I think any tactic they use, you could reasonably conclude that. I think that the DEA's position is they want to get it right, and I'm glad they do. I'm glad they're looking. I think more particularly they're looking at whether they need to modify the pseudodoxil issue, because again, while they believe and have represented to us that it's not found at detectable levels using standard equipment, our argument back was our anti-kratom people will use any piece of equipment they can, and it does detect it when you use that highly sophisticated equipment. So, and it's because it's naturally occurring. It's part of the degradation process.
What do you say about Michelle rubbing it in your face, saying that she was right all along? Because someone at the AKA X account went and tagged Joe Rogan from a 10-year-old post. Oh. So that right there stirred up a lot of crap in the community.
I know it did, and and that was, in retrospect, it probably could have been done better. What the team that was trying to do there was to convey how this is how the argument is unfolding. But Michelle Ross is never right when it comes to making a conclusion. It is true that pseudodoxil occurs naturally. And if there is a zero tolerance policy, then it would ban natural kratom. The DEA never intended that zero tolerance policy would be on any level of detection or quantification of, and that's why we're in this discussion about pseudodoxil. So she was talking about, anything that's quantifiable when they were talking about what the typical quantifiable levels are. So, I'm willing to say, okay, you made an interesting point. The DEA is now looking at it. We'll see how they come down on it.
But you guys knew about it. You guys knew about it before she even supposedly blew the whistle about it.
Well, yeah, the discussion was this is DEA's position. We are only looking at what we will enforce on quantifiable levels. And then we dug into it and asked the scientists to tell us what levels could it be quantified at? What kind of machinery is used? And we found that very expensive machines can detect it. And so the question is, did the DEA intend to ban natural kratom leaf products because pseudodoxil is present?
Right.
And the answer to that, and Michelle, if you're listening to this or if you see it later, here's the answer. No.
Hell no.
There never was an intent, but that's what she's trying to say. She's saying, oh, well, the DA knew what they were doing. This is all part of a grand conspiracy.
Like they specifically said that they are not concerned about natural leaf, but everybody's acting like some dudes in the background just been waiting around since 2016, like, this is how we're going to get them.
So there's when you look at the overall analysis of how public policy is framed and how decisions are made at the DEA, you can take the position that was expressed by Michelle Ross. You could do that, and you could say, "Well, this is what they intended all along, and this is just the way they're going to screw it." And what that's called is incredibly stupid, because that's not what they were doing. But yet that's convenient to her narrative, right? Because she's working for Seven Hope Alliance, which is funded by 7-Ohms, who desperately wants to keep 7-OH products on the market, and they don't care what they have to do or say to make that happen, right? That's just the way it is. And by the way, that's fine. They're allowed to do that.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with Michelle Ross saying, "Well, on behalf of my client, 7 Hope Alliance, which is funded by 7-Ohms, I'm saying this." But she doesn't. She perches herself on top of the tower, the ivory tower, and says, "I am sacrosanct. I'm a scientist."
I don't
And
know how
the-
anybody believes that lady. I just
No.
don't.
Well, and I refuse to call her doctor, and she doesn't like that, and I get why she doesn't like it. But I told her that I'd be glad to call her doctor when she starts acting like one, and instead of, she's
Respect is earned, not given.
right.
Right.
And whenever I see her comments on X, like I said, she blocked me last year, and I can't stand how X, I wish X was treated like Facebook, where
I
if
do
you
too.
block somebody, you can't see their stuff at all. Because I can't stand when I go on my X app and I see crap that I don't want to see from other people. But anyway,
So I've told the story before that Michelle Ross sat down next to me at a champ show, and I was cleaning out my office. I'm doing a renovation in my office, and it's going to take a couple of months, but I was cleaning it out, and I found the book, Kratom is Medicine. Now, it's the one she wanted to autograph to me, and I said, "No, I'm not interested," because I don't think that's the right message. Right? Kratom is not medicine. That is, if you want to make it a drug, it is a medicine. Now, does it have medicinal values? And I think she may have been trying to make that argument. It does have benefits for people that are therapeutic, but that's not for anyone in the industry to say. They're not allowed to say it unless they have the evidence and data to support it, in which case they'll have to then go for a specific labeling requirement. And if it's a therapeutic benefit, it has to be a new drug application. So that was my objection to it. And I know she was deeply offended, and she went off in a huff. And I guess she left her book, because I have it, but it doesn't have her signature in it or a caption, because she asked me, "How do you want me to sign it?" And I said, "Don't sign it," because I don't believe that's the right message.
I mean, I even stopped the terminology, because I used to say, like, I only dose Kratom once a day. I used to say that, and I even stopped, that terminology, because to me it's medical.
Yeah,
So-
you're right. But here's the good news. A consumer can say anything under
Yeah.
the Constitution's First Amendment rights about the therapeutic benefits that a Kratom product has for them. The American Kratom Association can talk about how people have experienced therapeutic benefits. A manufacturer or a representative of a manufacturer cannot say, and even comments on their website can't say, "Oh, this helped me with my pain," because they're in control of that website. That's a violation of the Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act, and that's the problem. And it's about following the law. And the only reason that the 7-OH people don't like it is that the only way they can convince someone in the Kratom community to buy their product is if they offered that therapeutic benefit. This helps with pain, whatever it is. And we've referred them to the FDA too for action, and unfortunately they got it. They didn't like it, and now they're saying, "Oh, the AK is horrible for doing it because they're stripping away from consumers the right to have these choices." No, we're taking away the right of a manufacturer to introduce an illegal product into the marketplace that doesn't comply with federal law. That's all we're doing. And if you could find a way to comply with federal law, like Natural Leaf Kratom Products has done, then you could be on the market. And so that's the difference.
Yeah, it's true, Mel. That's 7 Hope is funded by 7-Ohms,
Yeah.
and the heart.org is funded by Vance Sanders.
Right.
And
there are others involved. There's
Yeah.
There's Matt Schwerman from Outpost Brands. There's he's on the board of Heart, so he's funding it, not just Vince. So there's all of that, and this is just what we have to deal with as we're going forward here. But we're in the fight, and we are winning. We're winning. It is a long battle.
It's been exhausting, Mac.
Yeah, it's going to get worse with the likes of of our good friend Dean and Dean Francis and Cameron. It's just going to continue, and they can recruit all these people to join them that are anti-kratom people. Kratom Danger Awareness, Patty Wheeler, Mike McKell, Matt Hall, all these people. We're going to continue to fight because at the end of the day, one thing matters, and that's the science. And they're going to have to explain to the American people and to their legislators and to the people they represent, how is it, what do you know that NIH doesn't know, that the National Institute on Drug Abuse doesn't know, that HHS doesn't know, that DEA doesn't know, or FDA doesn't know? What do you know? What do you know that's so unique that justifies a ban on products when they can't meet the criteria set forth in federal law for that to happen? And that's the bottom line in terms of where we are. So I think the unfortunate part of all of this is this controversy, and I've got to run after this, the controversy that's been developed around all this because of the profiteering and greed by the 7-OH manufacturers is that they wanted on the marketplace to make a quick buck, and they weren't interested in following any of the regulations, none.
Yep.
And they weren't interested in investing in any of the safety data that's required to enter the marketplace. They wanted just a free ride, and they wanted to do it on the backs of the natural kratom leaf community by misleading everyone into thinking that kratom and 7-OH are the same thing, which they are not. And so there's where we are. But
okay, let's rapid fire the recap. Okay, so North Dakota, August 12th. You got Helena, Montana, August 19th. And then you have Brunswick, Georgia with Rick Townsend on August 21st.
The 21st.
Okay. So whenever you guys send out an email blast, I'll get that out there.
Yep. We appreciate it very much. Thanks to both of you. We continue the battle and can't wait to hear the reaction from the 7-OH girls, and we'll see where we are.
Thank you, Mac. Thank you so much. Have a good rest of your day.
Bye, Mac.
See you later. Bye-bye.
You don't have to end it, Jen. I want to answer Dana's
question.
question.
I was going to say we'll answer the advocacy question thing because I know we've been talking about this whole
Yes, we have.
Yeah.
She says, I think we could get more advocates on board if we had some sort of intro or training courses. I know for myself, I struggled in the beginning. I still have questions about what to do and how to do it. This right here is where Laura Romney, let me put her email up there because we've done something similar like this before. And we do it from our own free time. We ain't going to charge you for it. We ain't going to give you a coupon code for it.
Yeah, if y'all ever want to, if you're interested in learning how to do Zoom, if you can attend virtual hearings or something like that, hit us up. And we do literally this exact same thing behind the scenes. And we can just kind of, get you
comfortable,
normalized, so it's not such a shock. So anybody that ever wants to have any question, I think it might be a good idea. Me and Misty were saying maybe, every, I don't know how often, but maybe let's just say, for example, once a month, do an advocacy training thing, and anybody could come and it'll be behind the scenes too, so it doesn't have to be streamed, you know.
And you can, you don't need to have your camera on if you don't feel comfortable. Anything like that. We don't mind helping anybody at all that wants to get involved. I know what it's like to make that jump.
It's tough. I mean, and then just having to follow the legislative, every state's different. I mean, we still don't know everything, but I mean, it's tough to figure out. So I do not mind asking or answering questions or showing somebody how to do something or anything like that. We do not mind.
Yeah, let's totally do it. Because legislation sessions are going to be popping up here pretty soon.
I mean, we are called Advocacy in Action for a reason.
Exactly.
I'm so glad you met Laura too. Shannon, you've been a rock star.
Yes, you have, Shannon, girl. Yes, you have. I know I don't respond all the time in the chat, but it's because I'm doing 50 million other damn things.
Yeah.
Yeah, anybody that wants to, like I said, this right here, Laura is the GOAT. She is the advocacy GOAT, and like I said, it's always nerve-wracking to make that jump the first time around, but once you do it,
You're like,
You are
"This is
on.
it? Like, this is it's
Yes,
so much easier than you think," and then you realize that your voice makes a
it
difference.
does. Our voices, just our testimonies by itself, we have moved legislation needles.
Yeah.
Because legislators like you know what? I'm not even going to go there. I'm not even going to go there.
They just
About
wanna hear, like, real life people,
yes,
they and, if it's in your area, that's even better, but a lot of times, like I say in my testimony all the time, there's people that don't follow legislation, like, they're sitting there living their life because Kratom gave it back to them. I mean,
yeah,
so, I mean, I think it would be a really good idea for me and Misty, and we would have already been doing it, but we have been so damn busy because of 70H, like,
yes.
our free time is, like, going to bed.
I know.
Like, making dinner for the kids and going to bed, you know what I'm saying? At one point, that's how it was, every single damn day.
Yeah. And it's like right now it's kind of slowed down a little bit for these locality hearings, and there is a reason
It is.
why we do not post up these locality hearings. We got to hold those close to our chest. So
Yeah, Jeff, and you know what? Like, Jeff, anybody that's like Connie, anybody that's already done the Zoom,
yeah,
like Shannon, everybody, like anybody's totally welcome to come to it, like to give pointers, whether you've done it, whether you haven't done it,
yeah. Talk
everybody's
about your
welcome.
first experience, Connie. You did amazing.
Yeah, I know.
You did freaking amazing.
I didn't even realize that. I was like, that Connie? I was
Yeah,
like,
that Connie. Jeff does a freaking amazing. Shannon does freaking amazing. These
oh
people
yeah.
that are commenting right now have been ones that have attend these locality hearings.
Yeah, Jeff's always a boss too.
Oh
He's
yeah.
like, you and Jeff have that whole y'all can just wing it. I'm not good at that at all. Like, I
It's
have to
okay.
read it, but I love it. We're all different, and that's what's so beautiful about it.
That once made a difference, Connie.
Yeah.
I'm trying to tell you.
Yeah.
But yeah, once you get over that hump, and then it starts progressively getting easier and easier and easier, even though you still got nerves prior to doing it
Yeah.
again. But I'm telling you,
Butterflies in your belly.
yes. But once you get it done, you are on an advocacy high. Try to ban the advocacy.
Good. It feels good to know that you matter. To people that make decisions. And
No,
that's what's
don't put
important.
that next comment
I
up.
know.
That's Connie. We don't put any locality hearings up because we got haters that watch us.
Yeah.
We got haters, and then we get stolen valor haters.
But yeah, I think this is going to be a really good idea. I think it'll bring more people on board, Oh,
Tracy, you
you're a
too.
rock star too. Girl, you going in person.
Yes, Tracy.
I mean, there is a lot of great people in here, and it's everything happens for a reason. We all connect for a reason, and I think it's a wonderful, beautiful thing.
It's okay, Connie. That's something we can talk about whenever. What we'll do is we'll get with Laura to figure out when she's free and available.
Mhm.
And so you guys, do this. Where'd that damn
Oh, the ticker went. Oh, you know what? If you do the not the ticker, but the other thing, I think you did do that one.
I did. Okay, do me a favor, guys. If you guys want to do an advocacy training, screenshot this email right here, Laura's email, and then put in the email, like I said, send your name, city, state to Laura, and then put down you would be interested in advocacy training. So do that, please. Screenshot.
Doop, doop. Oh, wait. Let's do it one more time. Okay. I hope somebody screenshotted that for real. But yeah, this is seriously going to be I think it'll be a really good thing, and hopefully we can do it at a time where everybody can attend. And if not, if there's a big, want for it, and if people can't attend, I totally understand. Maybe we can record it. It's so much better though when you're there and you can ask the questions in real time, and just because it's. And plus, because you're there real time, you're talking to people on the thing, just like you're going to be doing on the thing, if I make sense, because I'm just saying the thing now.
The thing, the virtual hearing.
No.
Hey, Sherry.
Hey, Sherry. Sherry's another rock star too. She's the
Yes, heck
Mississippi rock
yes.
star boy.
Heck yes. She's been to Mississippi freaking capital more times than I can count.
Yeah.
And some locality hearings as well. You know, just because Mississippi has a KCPA does not mean it's safe. You know, any state, just because you have a KCPA does not mean it's safe. You know, because
Right.
their new strategy now is going around and trying to get sales bans. That's the new
Yeah.
strategy. And I have a problem with that. I have a problem with that because when sales bans start, then it can go down into a domino effect of banning it statewide.
It's like wildfire. I mean, plus by the time it gets to the state legislator, they don't give a crap about like learning about it. They're like, well, 20 cities have already banned it, so we might as well just ban it statewide. I mean,
Mhm.
it's, you know,
But I have a problem with the sales bans because, and I say this in my testimonies, is, you know, the grandmas and grandpas that aren't technology smart, you know, they're not going to know how to order online.
right.
You know,
And it's so
they're used to every
overwhelming. Yeah.
they're used to everyday routines. They're used to going in and getting their stuff, you know, something like that. Or that addict that is currently in withdrawal that might have saw, you know, one of my videos, one of Jen's videos, one of Jordan's videos, one's Chris videos. You know, they might have remember seeing our videos on the FYP on TikTok, you know, talking about how Kratom can help you with withdrawals. I think about people like that.
Yeah.
You know, because they'll be like, oh, wait, I heard about that. Let me go into the smoke shop and go get it. You know, my journey started from a smoke shop.
Yeah. Well, and if you're in that routine and you've been buying it for a smoke shop, I know people that have been buying from a smoke shop for like 5 years.
Yeah.
And it's like, they don't, you know, I hate change. Like, I'm a person, like, if it's going good, I don't want to change that. But it's like, you know, for them to have to like make that jump and start buying online and then, you know, just that's a big change, you
It
know,
is a
trying to
big
find a
change.
new vendor and then you get online and there's all these affiliates like throwing codes out or like, you know, I mean, it's just like overwhelming, you know, so I can understand. It's just, plus, even if they're just banning the sale and not the possession, it's still a ban and it's still the media reports it still sounds bad, you know? So, I
Yeah.
mean, anything that we can try and negate is a good thing.
Oh, yeah, I hate him too, Mel.
Thanks for coming, Dana. Have a good rest of your
Bye,
day.
Dana.
Yeah, I mean, online only would still be better than an outright ban, but it does still affect, like, dude, I would totally be fine if, you know, these state bans were just sales bans, you know,
Man,
but
I know, but they include possession in that shit.
Mhm.
But like these locality hearings, most of them don't have possession. Some of them do. And that really irks the crap out of me.
Hold on, Tracy. This sounds like a Mac thing. Sales manager lipstick on a pig. You got that right, sister. Because they can still buy online. And it's costing the locality sales tax.
hmm
It's so stupid.
You
But
know,
it's,
one of the 708ers made a meme of you before with lipstick on a pig.
oh my God, I forgot about that. That's
Yeah.
so stupid. Dude, they are so petty and childish.
So petty.
Actually childish. He has done a lot. His
You go, just go to his
TikTok, right?
yeah, his TikTok. We don't. I'm sorry, guys, but we don't.
Oh, wait. What? I thought you were talking about his videos.
How do we find Jordan's? Oh, videos. I
Yeah,
thought she said
yeah.
website. I was gonna
No,
say.
we don't do vendor promotion.
Yeah, we don't do vendor promotions. This ain't no damn 1990s infomercial around here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I
he's a
agree.
great advocate.
I agree, Lunar, that online, you know, is better. But there's a lot of moving parts to that.
Yeah, some sales bans do include online sales, but like Massachusetts, the majority of theirs is not including online because they
No.
know they can't control. Like they've already even said, like, we know that it's still going to be accessible to people that need it because they can buy it online. Like they've openly said that. So a lot of the Massachusetts places, maybe one or two.
Tracy, that's what I'm saying. She says, speaking of, can we contact any smoke shop associations to help us advocate? They lose money on these bans.
Yeah.
That's what I remember reading an article just a couple weeks ago, not realizing that there was actual smoke shop associations. I didn't even know that was a thing. But then you got to realize that they're losing the money from 7OH now, because Kratom was pushed out and 7OH was pushed in.
That's another thing. Yeah, Connie. A lot of places, but see, the thing is, like, unless they really, like, these localities, it's like lipstick on a pig. It just looks good. Somebody asked for this ban. And so it's a piece of paper. Like, it's not a legitimate law to where, like, if a vendor, you know what I'm saying? Like, the processors still accept it. It's crazy. It's just, it's probably something that their local police would enforce if they knew about it. I don't know. It's just so many opinions I have on that. I don't even want to go into it because some of it's about a thing I don't need to talk about. Oh, thank you. I got it chopped off.
She got I told her to do that Bob trend on TikTok.
Oh no, I've been that is rolling. Ugh.
Botana Bay in Kentucky is fighting for to keep 7OH.
Are they a 7OH vendor?
So why? Because 7OH is a Schedule 1 in Kentucky right now.
Yeah, it is. That's another thing. A lot of these people that are in banned states, and some have been banned for a long time since last year, are out there like actively advocating for 7OH. Bro, that shit's a Schedule 1. It's about to be a Schedule 1 everywhere.
7OH, yep. It's not if, it's when.
Yeah, exactly.
And I've said this before millions of times that I wouldn't give a dang fuck about 7OH if it did not come to the market and claim and say that it's Kratom.
Yep.
I wouldn't care about I would not care about advocating against it. I wouldn't care about nothing. First of all, I don't hate the people that take it. Do not put words in my mouth.
Right.
I have never said that shit.
We are not talking about the consumers. We are literally talking about the substance and the greedy ass industry.
Mm-hmm. I hate the substance. Oh yeah, I did at Champs. Yep, I sent you that. Yeah, he was at the AK booth.
Melly got hers cut off too. Melly, sorry.
Y'all just walk around with some bobs.
Yeah, we should both do the bob trend. If you haven't seen it, I'm sure you have though, because you're. I don't know. I didn't know about it till Missy sent it to me though. Yeah, but my thing is,
we fight everywhere, Crystal.
Yeah,
we ain't selfish.
If I don't know, my thing is any decent Kratom vendor that would advocate for 7OH is mind blowing because they're getting put out of business.
Yeah.
Unless they're somehow making money off of it, or they already have a stack of fucking money sitting around and they're just like, I ain't prohibition, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, people keep on saying like, oh, well, there's already so-and-so that's going to replace it. They've already come out with like 10 substances to quote unquote replace 7OH. I don't give a shit what they alter or what they come up with, what they Frankenstein together, as long as they don't put it out on the market
and
call it a Kratom product or an alkaloid, anything to do with Kratom. Mm-hmm. I don't give a shit what y'all put in your body, but you start coming after Kratom, and that's when I get into the picture there.
Yeah, that's why I had commented that pretty much on Drew Turner's X post, saying that I didn't start advocacy Kratom raging until I started seeing that these local, city, counties, and states were banning Kratom because of 7OH. I see it with my 4 eyes, man.
Yeah.
Not no hearsay.
People are like, well, Kratom was under attack before. Nothing like it.
Nothing like this.
Been. It's like I said earlier, anybody that doesn't see it is literally walking around with their eyes and their ears closed. Or they just don't care because they're making money elsewhere. I don't know.
What's those 3 monkeys?
The see no evil, hear no evil, and do no evil.
Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The three monkeys is walking around all over town. Don't hear shit about 70H, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like you're surrounded, if you're really out there in the community and advocating, then you're hearing real stories. You know what I'm saying? Like, and 99% of the real stories we hear are horrible.
Yeah. And I will forever say this. Kratom saves 95% of people's lives. 7OH ruins 95% of people's lives.
Yeah, it does.
Get that mopping done, Shannon.
Yeah.
Mop it till you drop it. Because of Kratom, you could do that.
Yeah, exactly. Synthetic drugs are going to be a thing. They have been for so very long, and they're still going to be around. But as long as y'all don't call that shit Kratom or put a leaf on it or anything,
Yeah.
I don't want y'all doing nothing with my plant that saved me. Like, I don't give a crap. Y'all can do whatever. But it's like for people to be like, you need to advocate for it. Are you advocating for the people that are benefiting from cocaine and heroin? I'm sure there's a couple that do. Are y'all out there advocating for them? I'm not.
Mm-mm.
And I'm not going to advocate for that bullshit ass 7OH either.
Mm-mm. Fuck ass shit.
All right. Well, I guess we're going to go. But yeah, stay tuned. Don't forget to email Laura if you're interested in that training thing.
Yep. Put that
And
out.
we'll,
We're kind of. I guess we should have asked her first. We're kind of nominating her. I don't think she'll mind though, because she's.
Oh, dude. Yeah,
that is
Laura
what
won't mind.
she is. She is the way that she. You guys would have to know what I'm talking about. Like when she gives her Kratom education to legislators, like her and Dr. Heidi.
Dude,
her
her and
it is.
Dr. Heidi are freaking amazing.
It is just like, oh, what? Oh, there's Laura.
Hey, Laura.
Hi. How you doing?
So,
yeah, we kind of nominated you for something over her. Anyway, there's some folks here that want to advocate, but they would like some advocacy type training, so
yeah.
we were kind of, just kind of saying.
Yeah, well, me and Misty have been talking about like doing something behind the scenes like this or like a Zoom or something, but not like streamed and just answering questions. Well, surprise!
Yeah,
At
surprise,
least it's nothing
surprise.
bad, we're just,
Yeah.
But yeah, we figured, we'd give your email out and anybody that's interested and whatever day you're available, whatever day and time.
That we could just do it behind the scenes type advocacy to try to help, get these folks on that step stool to advocate in these hearings. Trying to get them help them with their nerves. So we were telling people to email your email address and send their name, city, and state, and then that they'd be interested in advocacy training. So if you see, an uptick in your email.
Yeah, if you see like a lot of emails going through like, I'm interested in advocacy training, that's what that's about.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that. Like, she's like, what?
I know. We were going to tell you later. I mean, for sure.
Yeah, yes.
But I guess your ear was itching. Man, my ear itches a lot, so I guess a lot of bitches talk about me.
Yeah, we told them to screenshot you.
We'll put the email back up here.
Did you see Dr. Heidi's comment?
Wait,
about Greg? Remember that picture Mac brought down?
Oh, yeah?
She goes, I've always wondered who's in that picture. And then you said you thought it was who?
Gary Busey.
And she goes, I always thought it was, hold on.
Who's Greg Norman?
Greg Norman.
I'm going to look him up.
Look at him up. Hold on. I'm going to bring it up so I could show everybody.
Oh!
Hold on. This is the picture. I was like, what? All right. Hold on. Let me.
I thought it was like the 1980s Busey. I thought, okay, he's got
this right here. It looks like Greg Norman.
Mac does.
I know. When I read that, he was in the middle of talking, and dude, it was everything I could do to hold my tears back. I was crying. I mean, I was laughing so hard.
Now pull up a 1980s Gary Busey.
Hold on. Dude, he looked kind of rough. Let's see what Gary looks like. Let's
No,
see.
don't do it today's Gary Busey.
Oh,
Yeah. See? It looks like him.
he didn't have a polo on really in any of these. I think the polo really pulled it off for Greg. There we go. It's kind of like a polo.
Yeah. I always thought that picture in the back was of Gary Busey.
I did not, honest to God, I did not think it was Mac either. Like,
I didn't
I'll be
either.
serious. Like, I thought it was, two reps he knew that he was like friends with or something,
Yeah. And it turns out it was him.
Oh, yeah, dude. When you have to go up against the KDA, it's scary.
Oh yeah, but it's okay. You just focus on you and your testimony.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it.
'Cause, I mean, there is a lot of times where, again, we change it just by, even if it's only one person, sometimes it changes it.
Yeah, exactly. Like what happened in Moses Lake.
Yep. That was hilarious, though. I don't know if Heidi's still watching it. But, dude, I meant to mention that as soon as Matt got off. They're like, Greg Norman.
Mac used
Gary
to
Bu-
slay.
It's like if Gary Busey and Greg Norman had a baby. Oh, man.
I guess we can keep calling him Mac Daddy.
Yeah.
That's what you have, right?
Yeah.
As the intro.
Yeah. Okay.
Now,
All right.
what, Tracy? With who? Gary Busey or Greg Norman?
Shut up.
No.
Serious? I'll leave this up here. People know what we're talking about. I forget, like. Sorry, Tracy. You just. Oh, my Lord in heaven. I have to know which one she's talking about now.
Me
If it's Greg
too.
Norman, how obscure. I could see Gary Busey getting around, though.
Oh yeah.
Gary!
Oh girl. Yeah.
Dude, I could see it. Back in the day, that shit was funny as hell. Like, I could see it.
Oh me, oh my.
Okay, that's gonna have to be a story time.
Did you taste this buttered sausage? Okay, I don't want to know. I don't want to know.
Oh man. Oh gosh. Yeah, that's what
I'm
a story
crying.
time. Yeah, he was cool. He was really cool before he went nuts. I think he's probably always been nuts, but like old age just kind of caught up with him.
He needs some kratom in his life.
Yeah. Hopefully during the rally or something, we'll have to get Tracy to tell us the story. During we'll have dinner or something.
Oh, the streamathon?
Oh yeah.
Is that what you're talking about?
I was talking about the rally.
Oh, in DC?
Yeah.
Oh.
If we all go, we'll have to take Tracy out to dinner to hear about her Gary excursion. Okay, kitty. Wow.
She's like, it's time, mama.
Yeah.
And I got to pee. Like,
Yeah. All right, we're going to go for now, but thanks everybody for being here. Don't forget to email Laura, and
Yes.
we'll see y'all next time.
Yep. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.